Hello guys and girls, how's it going? Screezilla here, and I hope you're all well. And today I ask, what even is this tank? So what we have here is an interesting vehicle. What we have here is the chassis of the 2.7 M4A3 tank. Yes, 2.7. You hear me right, 2.7 BR tank chassis. And engine. Yep. Again, I'm just going to repeat that. BR of 2.7 M4A3 chassis with a slightly underpowered engine in it, with a tank destroyer turret slapped on. Yes, the turret of the M36 Jackson. Now in this turret we've got a 90mm gun. And this tank comes to us at 6.3. Now, the M36 itself is only a 5.7 BR. Yet this tank manages to combine a 2.7 and a 5.7 and make 6.3. And it's amazing. I just want to know what was going through the minds of the people that decided that this tank needed to be at 6.3. I just can't. Now, a bit of a comparison. So, the M36B1, sorry, I've got to take a second to say that because it's one of those tricky ones, is 30.9 tonnes. It has 398 horsepower and a top speed of 25.6 miles per hour. Now that's going downhill with a tailwind, being dragged by 7 other tanks and a rocket strapped to the back. The maximum penetration of its round is an APCR round that has 271mm of penetration at point blank range. The M36 is 28.1 tonnes. It has 442 horsepower and it has a maximum speed of 26 miles per hour. Now this is stock, of course. Now it will reach that maximum speed relatively quickly. Now the B1 is not too shabby at speed, but it's not quick. As you can see, we're averaging about 10 to 15 miles per hour. The M36 gets a 264mm penetrating APCR round. So, the difference of 4mm of penetration, yes, that's right, 4mm of penetration, means you go up to 6.3. With a slower vehicle, that, yes, it does have a little bit more armour, because it has an M4A3 chassis and hull, of course, so it has that little bit more armour. But it has a much worse speed, it's heavier, it's a higher profile tank. I can't. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to cut away to a brief moment where the dev team were working out the BR for this tank.
Meanwhile, at Gaijin headquarters...
Hey Jory, I think I have got idea how to sort out the Italian tech tree. I know, you will put it at 6.3. That sounds like a good idea.
As you can see, it makes perfect sense now. So yeah, this tank is pretty incredible. We get rocketed by a plane, of course. Luckily we don't die, which is surprising, because we are open top. Another thing about this vehicle is an open top vehicle, because, why not? Just leave the top open. That makes perfect sense. Of course it is to help with the depression of the gun, because it means that the breech can come up a little bit. There was actually a armour section for the top of these things. Basically it was an armoured little hood that would go over the top of it, and that was a sort of aftermarket sort of thing. It was sort of in place of the lovely canvas top. Now, an interesting thing about this tank is just the sheer amount of years it's been in use. Now this tank, we've got an M16 there, hello. Now, unfortunately my 50 cal's down, so I just had to shoot him. But luckily the 90mm shell doesn't seem to actually work and kill things. Anyway, this tank is still in service with some nations. Yes, you heard that right. This tank is still in service. Now, this tank was created just at the tail end of the Second World War, and it's still in service with a couple of nations in the Balkan sort of regions, sort of Eastern European regions, and also Iraq and some of the Middle Eastern countries. They still use these tanks, and the actual M36B1 is still in existence in Iran and other nations as an actual combative tank, you know. So this vehicle is not a bad vehicle. Oh, M56 there, hello. Did you notice me? Okay, well, fine, I guess I'll shoot you then. So luckily we did manage to kill him in one hit, because again, our 50 cal's down, we can't fix it. But well, this is my first game in this tank as well, mind you. So not going too badly at the moment. We've got 2 kills. So yeah, this tank is still in active service, and by all accounts, it's not a terrible vehicle. In all honesty, it's not a terrible vehicle. Now, the justification, by the way, just, you know, just my luck, you know, just should have aimed that a little bit lower, might have actually hit the ammunition. Oh well. The justification for putting this at 6.3, however, is because apparently it's going to get a heat round. The M26A1 and the M36B1 are apparently capable of firing heat. However, glancing over things, I've not really found any justification for that, and especially not heat FS. But of course, being that this tank is still in bloody use in some countries, they've probably retrofitted it to actually fire heat FS rounds. God, I wouldn't be surprised if one of those bloody countries managed to fire bloody APFDS through this thing or something like that. It's been around that long. So there is a chance we'll be getting heat FS for this tank, which will kind of justify its BR, but even so, it's very well, look, the M36 over there, right, that is a fast, nimble tank with a 90mm gun. We are a slow tank with the same gun and turret. Also, how didn't that pen? I swear. Luckily, we're just out of range of his T-32. He can't shoot us, apparently, or he tried to shoot and he missed. So we're just going to kill this guy with fire. So apparently we'll be getting heat for this tank, which is not really going to be a huge blessing, I guess. It's not going to do a big deal for it, in all honesty. Of course, if you get heat FS, that's going to make some difference. But the problem still lays in this vehicle's actual ability. It's just not good enough to be at this BR. Hell, this thing is 5.7. 5.7 is... Now, for some reason, my graphics were showing all of him alive, basically, so that's why I took the shot there, just in case you think I'm going a bit more mad than I actually am. But basically, this tank does not need to be at 6.3. It makes no sense for it to be at 6.3. It's nowhere near good enough to be at 6.3. This tank is barely good enough to be at 5.7. I mean, you know, in all honesty, this tank could be a 5.3 and you wouldn't really have that much issue, because it is that much slower than the M36, because it doesn't have the M10 chassis. I'm trying to think of now which one it was. I think it was the M10. I actually have to glance now at my notes and trying to find the right one. And I can't find the thing, but yeah, basically the same chassis as just the I think it was the M16. American tanks, too many numbers. but basically, you know, your typical gun carriage tank. And, you know, sort of super, you know, fast, agile tanks, the M18, the M10, you know, they have low armour, they're designed for speed, they're designed for manoeuvrability, and, you know, they're a little bit lower profile. Yes, they're built on the same chassis, but the hull is changed. You know, the hull there's less armour on them, there's less weight on them, so they get more speed, they've got a faster engine, you know, all of this stuff to help manoeuvrability. Whereas in this thing, you've just got this big sluggish lump of tank that just is not very good. And this is meant to be, you know, this is the Italian 6.3 lineup. You know, this isn't, you know, just a sort of bit of tank. You know, this is a tank that's needed for the Italian tech tree. Alright, we're just going to head back to the hangar quickly. And we are back. So, yeah, if we just go to America and we just go to, just go up to the M4A3 here, the lovely 105 howitzer variant. This is the chassis, or this is the hull. This is the exact hull that we're working on. And I think I have a few modifications for this, you know. But this is the hull. This is the exact hull. This is everything we're working on. The only difference is they've taken this turret off and put an M36's turret on there. The armour, everything like that is the same, you know. And you look at them and you just go, seriously, that's it. You know, there are some cosmetic differences, of course, slight cosmetic differences, but the armour is the same. You know, it's got armour, you know, but it's not going to be effective at 6.3. This is barely effective at, you know, 4.3. This is effective at 2.7, this armour, and that's it. You know, this is the sheer comical thing about it. You know, this armour is effective at 2.7, yet we've got it at 6.3 for the Italian tech tree. And when you look at the Italian tech tree, how sparse it is, the M36B1 is just, yeah, just, I just can't, really, I can't. You know, and the justification for having these tanks up-tiered is because, of course, they say, you know, oh, it's the ammunition, but they haven't added the ammunition yet. So they say it's going to be a heat ammunition, but we've not got it yet. The only different ammunition we've got is this APCR ammunition, which is pretty worthless. This tank, you know, when you compare it to the M36, you know, it's not even close. You know, the only thing it has is the gun, and you know, the Super Hellcat has 6.3 battle rating because it's very fast, it's very nippy, it's got better speed to it, you know, because it's on the M18, yeah, the M18, so it's the M10 hull, yeah, that's right. I really struggled with hulls and getting my tanks right and that stuff, but if we look at sort of 5.3, you know, we've got things like the Sherman 76, of course, but 5.7, this is where we get the 90mm, this is where we start getting 90mm guns, and the 90mm M3 cannon comes in. 5.7 makes sense for this tank, 6.3 does not make any sense at all. It's ridiculous, it's just, it's beyond a joke almost. As I said, you know, the only way that they could come up with that is by having some enhancements. So, really, I do hope to see this downtier, because it's going to be used in the 6.3 lineup anyway. But if it was at, say, 5.7, which would be a fair BR for this thing, it would just help the Italian teams a little bit, because you've got things like the 4.7 Tipio. If we take out the Fiat 6614, at 5.7 it would be a slightly less of a jump to the sort of 6.3s, because when you get to 6.3 you start facing 7.3, of course, and you can start facing some very nasty tanks indeed. Not that there's many 7.3s, I don't think there's only a couple, I think, in the game, if any. But, you start getting 7.0s and stuff like that, so you've got 80 GMs in there. You've got a lot more vicious tanks, and a lot of tanks that you're going to struggle with. For instance, the Ho-Ri is just going to annihilate you, and you're probably not going to be able to pen it frontally anyway. You look at the German tech tree for 7.0 and things like that, it's a whole different ballgame at that level. There are some very nasty tanks. M47s, you've got some seriously big vehicles, and that's what you can be up-tiered to currently in this tank. Whereas if it was 5.7, it would just help make it a little bit less painful for the Italian tech tree. It would give you something a little bit lower BR, it would just help with the grind, make it a little bit less frustrating. Also, they should lower the actual research point cost for it as well a little bit. But it's just one of those vehicles that I'm just baffled by. I'm baffled with how it's got to this battle rating, and words are not working for me right now. It's a very weird tank to have at this BR. Now, as I said, there are some positives with this tank. The gun is very good. Now, the gun is very good. Basically the American gun, if you're used to that. The velocity of the shells are very good. The APCR is very good. The armor piercing is very good, and you do get a M82 shot as well, which again is very good. So you have got some good shells in there. But the thing that's hindering you is the hull. Because you've got a very heavy hull. It's a very old design. It's one of the earlier Sherman designs. So it's not quite as good across country, stuff like that. And it was really just thrown together as a sort of, we've got these left over, let's just stick these two together and that'll be fine. And it did work. This isn't I'm not saying this is a terrible tank. I'm just saying it's a terrible BR for the tank, because it just doesn't make sense for it to be this high up when, you compare this to the Super Hellcat, which is its 6.3 counterpart, say, which doubles its speed. There is no reason for this to be at 6.3, that's what I'm trying to say. Alright, let me know in the comments below what you think. Thank you for watching, and sorry for rambling a little bit there. I'm just baffled by this tank, and I can't get over it. I keep laughing at it, I keep playing it, just go, how is this a thing? It's kind of like the armoured cars, they are just crazy fun, but this thing is just, it's the opposite. It's so slow, it's so sluggish, it's not very manoeuvrable, and the only thing it's got on it is the gun. That's the only thing it's got going for it. The actual turret itself, 30mm of protection, it's going to protect you against small arm fire. It's going to protect you against 50 cals. That's it. It's not going to protect you against much else. It's just going to protect you against small arms fire and 50 calibers. However, if you get a plane coming down, they're going to take out most of your crew, because they're all sitting in this open compartment, so a plane can easily swoop down and shoot down a couple of your crew members. If you're angled wrong, it's a really, really stupid idea, and again, it's another thing in this Italian tech tree that just doesn't make sense. Alright guys, until next time, this is me, Carl, Screezilla, and bye-bye. Hi all, as well as reading the credits, you just get a voiceover too. You can now join my Discord server, link below. Come join today for some free kaiju kibble.